Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Within Range Coaching Podcast. I'm Ranger, certified holistic success coach, and in this podcast, I'm breaking down the journey that entrepreneurs face as they start their organization, find solutions to the roadblocks in their way, and create an impact that lasts. So if you're an entrepreneur, nonprofit leader, or purpose-driven community member that wants to learn how to grow your impact and develop yourself as the person behind the mission, then this podcast is for you. I know you're just as eager to get started as I am, so let's jump right in. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's episode. So during my walk and coaching career, I've had the pleasure of meeting some amazing people. And I've seen a fairly common thread of folks finding ways to make their own brand of magic happen, whether on purpose or just by happenstance. Today, I'm joined with someone who shared their magic with me years ago without them even knowing it. People often ask me how I got the idea to walk across the country and what really inspired it. The short version, I saw that a famous artist that I liked did the walk in 2018. I thought that was cool, but promptly found all of the reasons why he could do it, but I could not. He's rich, he's famous, he has more resources, he has this and that. That's not meant for people like us. But around 2021, 2022, that all changed when I saw that a couple guys right around college age, like me, did the walk. They showed me that it was possible without being a millionaire or writing songs for Justin Bieber and Maroon 5 or all the other reasons I came up with as to why I couldn't do it. And the reason I'm sharing this with you today is to just really get across the message that you can inspire folks across the country, world, or anywhere really, just by sharing your story. And that story continues on today, because I have the honor of sitting down and spending some time with one of the folks that inspired my walk. Please welcome the owner of Kivett Social, Andrew Kivett. Andrew, thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, thanks for having me, dude. This is awesome. Yeah,
no, I'm excited to chitter chat. I'm sure at some point we'll have another conversation about the walk specifically. Maybe we can get Mark on and just kind of do like a whole conversation about it. But
I'm always happy to talk to Mark. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's a cool dude. I'll also put Mark's podcast in the show notes too, so we can just get the whole trio. But today we're not talking about the walk. I'm sure it'll come up from time to time. But today we're really here to highlight Andrew and the work that he's doing with Kivett Social, his marketing and media company that he is running out of Wichita. And to really just center the conversation around something, Andrew, what would you say your intention for today is?
I'd say my intention for today kind of just goes along with my mission for Kivett Social. And really, that's just, I want to make video production and creating content as accessible to as many people as possible. I want to get the message out there that if creating content is something that you desire to do, it's not going to happen overnight, but if you just take that first step and you keep working at it, it's something that anyone can do.
Yeah, just really centered around, I guess, putting yourself out there, making that first piece, and it'll all kind of fall into place eventually.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So with your company, what is it? Let's kind of back up a little bit. What got you involved or interested? How did Kivett Social come into play before it even started?
I mean, I picked up a camera when I was probably 7 years old and never put it down. It's been my whole life. And before content even really, blew up that we see on TikTok and Instagram, I guess I was on YouTube pretty much ever since it started. So I've been putting myself out online since I was very young, maybe 8 or 9.
Gotcha. And what did that content look like in the Genesis days, the original? What were you posting to just start building up that experience?
Goofy skits and stuff, man. Nothing too serious and probably nothing too crazy good.
Gotcha. Is it still online for people to hunt down at some point?
Thankfully, most of it's gone.
Gotcha. Okay. So it sounds like it's been something that's been kind of in your blood ever since you found out that it was a thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Gotcha. And I know that you went to school for it too, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to Sorry, I graduated from KU with a degree in film production.
Nice. And when you say video content or video production, I guess what does that really mean? Because I'm sure all of us are kind of scrolling on TikTok and Instagram Reels and all that and seeing just like a variety of different types of content. But what would you really say is like your bread and butter with your company?
I mean, my bread and butter with my company is definitely more the corporate type stuff, brands trying to sell you stuff. But when I get the chance, I absolutely love working with smaller creators too, especially musicians, tattoo artists.
Gotcha. So in terms of, I guess, why that route? Like what inspired you to kind of really just go toward that direction of corporate and more marketing?
I mean, I guess the truth of the matter is that's where the money is. But when I first started out, my kind of how I started professionally was through a real estate agent. And she had reached out to me actually while I was on my walk. And from there, it's kind of been word of mouth mostly and just making connections, networking. And that's happened to be kind of just in the corporate world.
Gotcha. How did that initial conversation happen with her? Like, how did she find you or what did that look like?
I knew her growing up. She was the mom of one of my friends. So kind of had a distant connection there. Not too distant. Had a kind of a connection there already. And she had been following along my walk on Instagram, knew I did the video stuff. So she reached out and was like, hey, like when you get back in town, I'd love to meet with you, talk about doing some real estate videos. And that's kind of when Instagram Reels was kind of starting to boom.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of got into that market just about the right time, like late 2021, early 2022.
Gotcha. So when did you graduate from college? You said 2020 or?
2021. Yeah.
2021. Okay.
So yeah, I graduated May of 2021 and I left for my walk 3 months later. My walk was over in about 3 months and I started my business right when I got back.
Wow. So you jumped straight into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was that?
Kind of a whirlwind there.
I bet. Yeah. I can only imagine. What was that experience like for you?
Like what experience like in what way? Like,
I guess what I'm trying to get at is it sounds like it was graduating college, milestone, starting the walk, milestone in of itself, finishing it, then starting a business. It sounds like it was just bang, 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 big thing after the next. What was that experience like?
I think it was just a really ambitious time. And I mean, obviously I'm still not very old. I'm about to turn 24, but even as I do get a little bit older now compared to when I was 20 and 21, I was so focused on trying to get ahead. And so I think that's why I packed so much into so little. And I mean, looking back on it, there was no need for that, but I'm happy with how everything worked out. But yeah, it was really just a drive that I had in me. And especially while I was on the walk and after that, I had this big burst of motivation. I was just kind of high on life per se, but that doesn't translate, for a whole life, that leads to burnout if you stick with that.
Gotcha. So it sounds like there was just big thing after the next big thing that led to that finding what was next.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
So what is it so it kind of sounds like that was 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago?
We're getting close to 3 years. Yeah. That was happening. Yeah.
Yeah. So and it sounds like, and a lot of people talk about the difference between motivation or discipline or stick-to-itiveness, whatever. What has, I guess what I'm trying to ask is it was big thing after big thing after big thing, and now it's kind of dissipated. Like what's been happening for you there?
I think I'm just trying to enjoy things more as I have them. And that was a big lesson the walk taught me, because as soon as I finished, I was like, well, what now? And I realized how much I did enjoy it.
Yeah.
So as I, go through life now, I mean, I still have goals, and there's, I still keep it in the back of my head, like what's my next walk per se going to be? But I'm just not so focused on trying to get that all out of the way at the expense of just enjoying where I'm at, you know? And building a business has been a good lesson for me, kind of in a way, in taking it easy and slowing down, because you can walk across the country in less than half a year, but it takes longer than that to really get a business going.
Yeah, just the difference between it's really just time spans of these big goals. Because again, and it's so interesting hearing different things from different people, because again, on my walk, I've met people that have started businesses or nonprofits, this or that, like these really ambitious, amazing things. And then when they hear about my walk, or I tell them about you or Mark or whoever, they're just like blown away by the gravity and how big of an endeavor that is. But it feels like you were saying, it feels like it's like, yeah, that was a big thing. That was huge. But that was 3 months versus trying to start a business in 3 months or do all these things. Like, it's almost impossible. A successful one, at least.
Well, when I got back while I was starting up Kivett Social, I wrote my book. And getting a book from rough draft to having all the copies out, that took longer than walking across America. That took 8 months.
Wow, what a time. Yeah, that's a time lapse. Jeez. Putting all of that, all those experiences together, and just it took almost 3 times as long, because you did it in 98 days, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah. So
yeah, I guess I really was just really going for it at that time. I was just like little goal after goal.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Gotcha. And you said earlier that starting a business is kind of like a series of lessons, or you said something similar to that. Like,
it's been a lesson in learning to like take things slow, and it's been something that I've really been able to put. I've never really put a ton of my focus into one thing until I did this, because I've always kind of hopped around on little projects that, the ADHD. But
yeah, tell me about it. Before I started Within Range, I was selling 2020, like selling candles, pet spiders, Etsy printables, TaskRabbit, like a million different things. So I hear ya. But I've also heard, like, from what I've heard from others, is like that jumping around and doing like the jack of all trades, master the none thing. Like, that's kind of just acquiring different skills.
Yeah.
Like, you're learning all these different ways of looking at things and doing certain things, and you're able to take, I don't know, lessons from selling spiders on Craigslist and putting that towards marketing for your whatever business you end up starting.
Yeah. So I think it's a good thing.
Yeah,
for sure.
Like, with that being said, like, what was good about it for you? Like, what would you say was your takeaway from jumping all over the place? Like, what am I trying to get at? Like, the amalgamation, like, of all of those different lessons you learned to put it into Kivett Social.
Yeah, well, I'll put it in terms of like in a more career or professionalism sense. My experiences where I've hopped around and had all these little interests, I think it's been a huge payoff for my career and business, because the more life experience you have, I mean, for a second, even just forget the actual like physical skills you pick up. You have more to talk about. You're a more interesting person, and people work with people, and you want to work with someone that you vibe with or that you find interesting. And so all these little endeavors that I've gone on, walking across America taught me discipline. It taught me storytelling. Writing my book was another avenue of storytelling. So, yeah, I mean, all these little things that maybe don't exactly pertain to what my, ultimate goals are, they've all indirectly helped along the way.
Yeah, kind of like transferable skills.
Yeah.
Like, really just being open to, like, any experience can be used for something else in the future.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And I think kind of what you're just saying now is like that storytelling, like people working with people that are like them or that they like. I've always heard that, what was it? I don't know how to explain it from the story that I heard, but for example, there was a gentleman that I met on my walk that just got his real estate license. And he was kind of in that valley of despair where it's like people are dropping off. He hasn't made a sale yet. He's working with one person. He's really holding on really tight. And he was kind of telling me that, I'm already thinking about quitting. This isn't for me. I want my W-2 job back. But he's only been doing it for about 2 months.
Oh, wow. Not long,
Yeah,
not long.
Not long at all. But to fall into that valley of despair like that, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like there's that, uninformed optimism, and then informed pessimism, valley of despair, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Like he was just very much there, like ready to quit. And what I told him was something similar to what I've been told is there's a million coaches, there's a million real estate agents, but there's only one of you.
Yeah.
And that really kind of ties in with what you were saying with people work with people like them or that they like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So does that tie in with your mantra of creating content, or how does that, like, what are your thoughts on that when it comes to content?
Like transferable skills?
More so creating content that's authentic to you and your business.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I tell everyone I work with we don't want to focus all in on this specific niche that they're working in. So like I work with lawyers, real estate agents. But at the end of the day, people don't want to just watch videos about careers. Mm-hmm. And so I try and find out and implement, how can we take your other interests and what makes you interesting? Let's highlight that. And of course, we'll mix in the educational content. We'll mix in some of the just fun trends to bring in, those influx of viewers. But what story do you have to tell? Why should someone watch you? What would actually engage someone?
Gotcha. So how do you tie in those special interests that people have with their business? Like if a lawyer is really into basketball, how do you make sure that people still know that they're a lawyer without just making it look like they only play basketball? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I'm always telling clients that my focus building your audience. So we want people to know who you are when you come up on their screen. And that's very true of Instagram, Facebook. It's not always true with TikTok. But for example, you brought up a lawyer. You said basketball. A lawyer in particular that I work with, he's into ultra marathons. So, and I mean, that's something that, like I was saying about people want to work with people that they're intrigued by. That's, not that I'm an ultra marathoner, but talking about my walk was something that he took interest in because he runs like 100-mile plus races, kind of in the same field. And what we do predominantly, law content, we mix in stuff. I did a video about him before he was leaving for the Boston Marathon, did a video about his training for that. And a big reason that people are probably following along that law firm's page is because they admire and are interested in the people that work there. Because at the end of the day, you could go to any law firm, but you're probably going to you could pick any real estate agent in the world, but you're going to gravitate to someone that you feel that connection with. So to me, focusing on those other aspects about you is almost more important than sitting down and just going through just informational content.
Gotcha. So it's really just injecting that personality and those interests into the content you're already creating.
Yeah, because otherwise people aren't going to stick around because there's so much content out there. But like you're saying, there's only one of you.
Hey guys, Ranger of Recordings Past jumping in real quick to talk to all of you coffee and tea lovers. Are you ready to brew up something amazing? If so, I've got just the thing for you. Cold-Blooded Caffeine Company. This isn't just any coffee, it's your ticket to a great boost of energy that helps save the rainforest. Trey and McKendrick, the founders, were able to find the perfect intersection between wildlife conservation and high-quality coffee. With each sip, you're supporting wildlife conservation efforts in coffee-producing countries, since 5% of every bag sold goes directly to protecting our planet's precious ecosystems. I've been hooked for a couple years now, ever since I picked up my first few bags at the Sacramento Reptile Show, which is exactly why when I had the opportunity to partner with them for my walk across the country, I jumped at it. My personal favorite has been the U.S. Ark Bourbon Barrel Aged Blend, followed closely by their classic Rainforest Blend. They also have multiple flavors of tea, so there's something for everyone. So drink up, make a difference, and savor every moment. Go ahead and check the link in the show notes for the referral link for some coffee, and don't forget to use the code RANGER at checkout to get 10% off. Cold-Blooded Caffeine Company, coffee with a cause. Hit the link in the show notes and grab some purpose-driven coffee today. So, and this is something we talked a little bit about off the recording, but in terms of folks that want to create their own content, because it's one of those things, just like personal finance, like jumping into a big goal that feels very overwhelming. And there's so many things to compare. I mean, I scroll on TikTok and I see 1 million likes, 250,000, 500,000. And the most I have was a gecko video that got 30,000 views or something, right?
Yeah.
So like, what is your advice for people that have that brand, that have that company, and they're really trying to get into the social media game to build that community?
You know, I say, and this isn't my original saying, but it's just make 100 videos. Make your first 100 videos. Don't worry too much about finding your voice or style. Just start filming and putting them out there. And some people prefer to make a new profile or kind of like mute or block friends and family if they don't feel comfortable, you know, being vulnerable like that. And I say whatever you need to do to just start putting yourself out there if that's something you really want to do. You just got to start making the videos. And once you've made 100 videos, you'll kind of have an idea of what's working and what's not, you know?
Yeah. Let's back up from the 100 because I want to go off on that tangent a little bit more.
Yeah.
But what is it that gets in the way of people from that 0 to 1? What have you seen that prevents that first video from being published?
I think the biggest thing is fear of judgment. I think that gets in the way. I think there's a lot of people that would like to make videos and not even necessarily that they have something to sell, not necessarily that they want to make money off of it. It's fun, you know, why not? But I mean, like you were talking about with scrolling through and you see all these people getting a bunch of views. The reality is that 99% of people creating content, they're not going to quote unquote make it how people might perceive what being successful online is. And the truth is that if you're enjoying what you're making, you should really just be focusing on the community that you build, your followers that share those interests with you. I think the other thing that gets in the way is discipline, because I mean, people are tired. I have a lot of energy for doing this stuff, but it's also my job. If I can justify filming videos of myself in the middle of the day because it's marketing for my brand, it's how I make my income. But if you're already at work from 9 to 5, when you get home, I mean, you got all your chores, you need to make dinner, get ready for bed, have some time to unwind. It takes discipline to make that a priority and to sit down and be creating those videos because it is time consuming. It takes time.
Yeah. So a lot of it is just that worry of judgment, that comparison, and energy. It feels like those are kind of the main hindrances of taking that first step.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And I mean, I can't really think of anything else besides maybe like if you're needing help with your production, finances can get in the way of that. But I mean, we do live in an age that almost anybody has the means to film themselves on their phone, you know?
Yeah, I was going to say, the phones in most the cameras in most phones nowadays are way better than what multi-million-dollar like movies were made off of back in the day, or well, maybe not multi-million, but like very successful ones. Just,
Yeah, I mean, you could don't say that to some like filmmakers that are like really
yeah,
into that, but they'll start the argument on film being like the best format, which, I
of
don't
course,
have a
of
say.
course.
I don't have a say in it. But yes, exactly what you're saying is the average person has access to creating what somebody 40 years ago would have had to spend hundreds, thousands of dollars to do.
Yeah, and we have that access of just turning the camera towards ourselves, talking, and being able to post it online for, I'd say, millions of people to see, but tens, hundreds, thousands.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
mean, it's, you never know. And a lot of that is luck. But to even add to that point, not only do most people have the means of having that phone, they can just click record right off the bat. They have access to thousands of free guidance online. You don't need to go to film school to learn how to create videos.
Yeah, I am a huge fan of YouTube University.
100%, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's plenty of, even again, like just to make that first video, make something that resonates with someone else. I mean, I had an interview earlier today with someone and they were talking about small business development centers, kind of like
Oh,
through your
yeah.
local universities or counties. Like there's so many resources out there. You just need to look a little bit and you'll find them.
Yeah.
So we talked about it a little bit, like kind of finding that avatar, that like ideal customer, the person that resonates with you, that has those similar interests. Is that something that you help folks do, or how would you kind of help a client or someone else determine what it is, like who they're making content for?
Yeah. I'm not a professional marketer per se. My predominant focus is on the social media video, more so the technical aspects of creating it. But I've learned a lot over the years. I've been at the game for a few years and I'll never force my advice on anyone. And I work with people that are more keen on, they have their idea of how they want to do it. And my job is to make that happen. But I have that knowledge to an extent, and I do give that advice if it's wanted. I recently I started offering 30-minute phone calls. So that's something that I do to try and create more accessibility in this realm. And like I said, yeah, you can learn for free on YouTube. And so I don't want to like free resources are available is what I'm trying to say. But I also like I offer one-on-one calls to help and I try and keep that at a very affordable price. But yeah, so I guess in terms of and I kind of go on tangents sometimes, that's my bad. But in terms of kind of circling back to your question, it's up to who I'm working with. How much of my input do you want? Because I've done a lot of my own content over the years online, and I have a little bit to show for it. So I'm happy to share what I've learned.
Yeah, and to just kind of go to that note, there's free things online. Like there's free
Yeah,
resources for life coaching. There's free resource, like if people really didn't need my help as a coach because they found free resources, great. I'm glad you
yeah,
figured it out. And I'm sure you feel the same way, but like there is a huge difference between that generalized basic information that you can find on YouTube or articles versus talking to a professional,
yeah,
because it's
yeah,
going to be more personalized. And again, that kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier, that human connection, that
yeah,
one-on-one, finding someone that resonates with you, that really feels like they're speaking your language.
yeah. No, for sure. There's there's a huge benefit to that. And like in my case, if I'm sitting down with a client, if my advice is wanted in that situation, yeah, I mean, a YouTube video can't look through all your social medias and point out like this is working, this is not working, this is why this is working, this is why this isn't working. You need to implement more of this or that. And so that's true. There's personalized advice that you can't necessarily just find immediately for free.
Yeah, but it's kind of like that knowing just enough so that you feel comfortable talking to a professional too, I think is
Yeah,
another
yeah.
valuable tidbit. One of the presentations that I do, a money mindset one, that's kind of the focus of it is you're not going to learn everything you need to know about finances from this. Like that's not what this is. It's just enough to get you started. And then you
Mm,
can decide if you want to hire a coach. And then if you want to just learn on your own. But it's just kind of like, let's dip our toes in. Let's help you understand the basics. And then usually people feel more empowered to have those conversations afterwards.
that's yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of get the ball rolling.
Yeah. And just to kind of like pull this thread back before we lose it entirely, we're
Yeah.
talking about that rule of 100. That's
Yeah.
how I was introduced to it. But I don't know if you consume any Alex Hormozy content.
The name's super familiar.
I'm going to
So
send you some of his stuff.
he's like the blonde guy that's always in a Lambo.
No, that's someone different. Alex Hormozy is like a super, I don't know, beefed up, muscular dude that does marketing and sales and
Oh.
stuff. I'll send it to you
Oh,
later.
okay. I know who you're talking about now.
He like
Okay,
has
there's
the
a
no
couple
strip.
Alexes.
Yeah,
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 the
for
no
sure.
strip guy.
The no
Yeah.
strip guy. Yeah, okay, there we go. See, and I think
Yeah.
that there we go. Like we were kind of saying earlier, it's like his big thing is marketing and sales and business. But
Uh-huh.
now, at least for me, whenever I think of no strips, I think of that guy. Like it's
Yeah.
just such a basic thing that kind of associate, like that is rule of association with folks.
And that's why it's so important to just be yourself and
Hmm.
include those other aspects of your life like we were talking about because once you're all done with your journey here, when someone's like trying to oh, there's that the life coach guy who walked across or the business coach guy who walked across America, they'll make that association because there's more to you than just your job title.
Exactly. There's more to you than just the title, that connection of personal life and business and et cetera, et cetera. Like they blend together more than people think. I also feel like the probably an episode for a topic for another episode, but like the
Yeah,
concept of
yeah,
work-life balance, like you can combine them in certain aspects and it might help more than you think it would hinder.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But to, I guess, wrap up that rule of 100, it's, from what I've seen, it's focusing more so on what you can control, right? I can
Yes.
control putting out 100 pieces of content. I can't control how good it is. I can't control, or I cannot control how many people see it or interact or whatever. But I can make 100 videos, 100 1 minute
Yes.
videos, 100 still images. Like I can do that
Yes.
and then take it from there.
Yes, and putting a numbered goal on posting content is really helpful because a trap that's easy to fall into, especially with TikTok, because
Hmm.
they take your video, they throw it into the algorithm right off the bat. You get more exposure on TikTok than pretty much, I mean, as far as I know, than any other social media. It's this algorithm and other algorithms maybe are starting to adopt it a little like YouTube Shorts, but TikTok was kind of the first one we saw where they're like really taking your video and they give every video a chance. So it's easy to get those dopamine hits when you put up a post and you have one that kind of blows up and it does really well. Well, then when you post your next one and it doesn't do as good, it's going to be real easy to quit. But if you've already set an intention that you are posting 100 videos, despite how the videos are received or how many views they get, and you just do your own thing and you focus on that, those are the people that end up successful with videos online. We just don't often see their very beginning.
Exactly. And we don't see that beginning because they've posted so many times and there's been so many iterations
Yeah.
that at this
Yeah.
point you just see the Mr. Beast video with millions and millions and millions, but not that very first video he made that probably got what, 10 views at the
Oh,
time?
it's intriguing if you go scroll back through his older videos.
Hmm.
He really he really just went for it. It was not a high quality setup. It looked like it was just done on a webcam or something. And he filmed the majority of his videos in his room. And he really had to like find his style. And there's so many, especially with TikTok, it's really easy to see someone and feel like, oh, well, they're just like an overnight success. But I can personally attest to some of my friends across the country. I mean, a couple, on the other side of the world that I can think of, but it seems like, oh, they're just like kind of famous online. But I knew them when they weren't, and they were just kind of, they were grinding away at it. And you have to just appreciate the tenacity of the people that just keep going at it, even when it's not working, until it does. And like I said, it looks like an overnight success, but it might have been 3 years of posting every day before they really took off. There's a ton of work behind the scenes.
Yeah, and I think that's the other important thing, is that when we see people now, we're seeing the snapshot, not the film reel of those years and iterations and failures and this and that. And I don't know, the hundreds of times that they posted that didn't work out. We're just seeing the current now where they're at.
Yeah.
Yeah. So really just that you're not going to be 3 years down the road like they are unless you start today.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No better time to start than today.
Exactly.
Well, yesterday's better than today, but today's the best option we got.
Exactly. I love it. But yeah, man, no. Is there anything else that you want to say to the audience, the people of the internet, before we kind of wrap up the end of the episode?
No, I think you had some really good engaging questions. And I think that what we talked about with how prevalent online presences are becoming, I think this is something that can really apply to, almost everyone, with the exception of people who prefer to stay off social media, which respect to that too. But no, I think we covered a lot of bases.
Awesome. But yeah, no, man, I appreciate it. I think there's a lot of really good nuggets there. The kind of that rule of 100, focus on what you can control.
Yeah.
Just know that, I don't know, was it comparison's the thief of joy? Like, just do you inject your own personality into your business. And that's just really one of the best ways to create engaging content that not only could potentially get interaction and help you find customers, but is just more fun and sustainable for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And your personal brand is going to outlast, whatever brand you're currently working with, most likely, because things don't always work out on the business side, but you always have yourself.
Exactly. The name always lasts.
Yeah.
Awesome. But yeah, man, if people want to work with you, find you, learn more from you, where should I send them in the show notes?
Kivett Social on pretty much any social media I can think of right now. It's just
perfect.
At Kivett Social. Yeah.
Just look him up, Kivett Social. Andrew, thank you so much for your time and sharing your thoughts and expertise with us today. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I will, again, we'll probably bring you back at some point to talk more about the walk once I finish and kind of go on that whole tangent. That'll be fun.
Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks again, everyone, for taking the time to listen to today's episode. I think that my biggest takeaways from today is to just show up authentically in the world and control what you can control. Just like in our conversation, try to focus on making the content or doing the tasks that will get you where you want to go, rather than necessarily the results or external factors that you can't control. Again, I'll be posting all of Andrew's information down in the show notes, so be sure to give him a follow on Instagram, TikTok, everywhere that he is. And as always, please be sure to like, subscribe, and rate the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to. Rating the podcast really helps us reach more people so that we can help more folks help more folks. So if you could just take 30 seconds to give us a review, that's the single ask that I have of you today. We'll see you guys next week on the Within Range Coaching Podcast. As always, have fun, stay safe, and be yourself.